Hi, welcome to Becky's Garden Paradise. Today I'm bringing you along for my dried rosemary that is homegrown. So I have a big rosemary bush in my garden, and about, I would say 4 to 6 weeks ago, I harvested some of the rosemary, honestly, because I wanted to harvest some, and then also it needed pruning because it was blocking the walkway into my garden. So I went ahead and harvested the rosemary, as you can see here, and then when I brought it in the house, I rinsed it off, and then I kind of dried it on a towel just to get the excess moisture off of it, and then I hung it on my homemade handy dandy herb dryer. And I use this herb dryer for rosemary, I use it for basil, you could also use it for thyme and oregano, and it's just the easy way. I prefer to hang dry my herbs the old school way. I do have a dehydrator, but it doesn't have a temperature setting, so it gets a little too hot for herbs that need to be dried at a lower temperature. So hanging them in my house on this coat hanger with binder clips works for me. So my next step is going to be removing it from the stem, so I'm going to show you that. Alright, so I moved the hanger over to hang from one of the cabinets right above my sink, just because sometimes when they're dry, they'll lose needles, and I was trying to help prevent making a mess. So I'm just unclipping them. And just unclipping them, some of the needles are starting to come off, so that's just an obvious sign that they're ready, that they're dry, if the leaves come off that easy. I like to let them hang for a good 6 weeks. I've let them dry longer than that before, and they've been okay. But 6 weeks, I think, is the sweet spot for your rosemary. So you can see that the stems are pretty woody. Like this one lost a lot of the needles already just while it was hanging up. And the stems are pretty woody. You could use those, like I've heard of people using the rosemary stems as like skewers when they grill meat to help infuse flavor. But I discard those or compost them when I'm done. So I have all of the rosemary in the bowl, and I'm just gonna use my hand. So I like to hold the stem from the tip, and then I run my fingers along the stem. And I just go like that to take them off. So I'm going to go ahead and do that to all the stems and then show you how much I end up with. Oop, bumped you guys, my bad. Okay, so I have the rosemary off of the stems. So I showed you a little bit of me finishing that up. So just keep in mind you will end up with rosemary leaves scattered here and there, but I try to just keep my hand cupped over the stem as I'm pulling it off, and that does help minimize the rosemary leaves flying all over the place. But you will get some. Like, I had some in my sink. I got a few on the floor, but I like to do it on my counter or in my sink. That's just a good height, rather than if you like try to sit down at the table and do it or something like that. So I got a good amount, and you can use these as is. So I actually have used them and gifted them as whole leaves in the past. I have a jar up here, I'll show you. So as you can see, these are from last year. So I use these a lot on like roasted chicken, turkey, so roasted poultry, and roasted vegetables. Those are my favorite ways to use them. You can use them in marinades. So some people use them in their soups. Just, you know, endless ways to use your rosemary. And it's been fine using them whole in the past, but they're not very palatable. So this year I'm gonna switch it up, try something new, and I'm gonna use my hand chopper, electric hand chopper, to see if that will get them to like a smaller, like chopped or crushed. If you can buy chopped or crushed dried rosemary in the store, I'm gonna see if the electric mixer will get it to a nice consistency for me. And then I have a beautiful fluted mason jar, ball mason jar, that a friend gifted me. So I think that this will be a pretty jar to put my dried rosemary in. And I actually have twice as much dried rosemary as what I showed you guys, because I had 2 different dryers going at the same time. So let's see how the hand chopper works. Also, one thing before I do this I want to share. So when I trimmed the rosemary to harvest it or prune it, I went through and looked at the leaves ahead of time. And if there were any leaves that were brown or yellow, I cut those off with scissors when it was fresh. But you do want to look through your rosemary when you de-stem it, just to make sure that you double check that you don't have any little pieces of stem or yellow or brown, you know, or even black rosemary leaves. You want them to be all nice and pretty and green. But because I went through them as soon as I harvested them and used scissors to cut off any off-colored leaves, I have nice pretty green rosemary leaves here. So I'm just going to go ahead and put them in my hand chopper. These hand choppers are good. They don't do large quantities, I should say, of product or ingredients. So if you have one of these, you know, if you had a food processor, you could pulse it in the food processor. So let me put a little bit more, so I'm trying to do about half at a time. Now I'm getting some on my counter. And this, once you have it dried like this, you keep it in an airtight container. It's going to last you for a long time. It's going to have a lot of really good flavor. I just want to chop it, like I said, so it'll be a little bit more palatable. Here we go. It's going to be loud. If I'm not satisfied with this, then I'll just break out the immersion blender, but it's working. Let's see if you can see. I'm just going to do it a few more times. I'm not looking to pulverize it. You could definitely turn it into a powdered rosemary if you really wanted to. I don't ever use powdered rosemary or ground rosemary. Smells like evergreens, like Christmas tree smell. I think if I use my Vitamix, it's just going to be a lot quicker than this. But this is working. Rather than dirty up two different appliances. And I'm going to call that good. So I have my mason jar ready to go. And I'm going to put my funnel. This takes a little bit of patience, but it works. I'm getting rosemary on the base. It's okay. Yeah. I was kind of guesstimating what size jar I needed since I know I have that other batch that I'm going to do as well. Oh. See how small it is once you chop it up? There's some pieces in there that are longer than others, but that's okay. It doesn't have to be perfect. I just wanted them small, like smaller than the full-size leaves. Or the whole leaves. I'm going to leave that there for now because I have more to do. Let's have a look. Yeah, that's good. There we go. Very nice. And a little bit of rosemary goes a long way. So this is enough to last a long time. Plus I have the second batch to go ahead and do. Okay, so I got round 2 finished. And I had a couple brown leaves. So I just wanted to show you how they look. So those, if they're brown, you don't want them in there. So I took those out. I'm going to set those aside. If I could talk. And then I'm going to go ahead. This is the second batch. I'm going to go ahead and get it in the chopper. Do that. Same thing. Do it in a couple batches. Take a look. Uh-oh. Got rosemary dust flying around. I'm going to chop it up a little bit more. Oh, look at me. I almost made. All right, now we're in business. I'm going to go ahead and put it in the jar. So I mentioned a few ways that I really like to use rosemary. If you have a different way that you like to use it, please let me know down in the comments. I'd love to know. And if you have rosemary and you live up north, is it a perennial up north? Because down here it's like an evergreen shrub. Like you could really have it in your landscape if you lived in an HOA. That's funny about you growing edible plants and nobody would ever know. And if you grow rosemary, do you get yours to bloom? I do a good job at growing rosemary, but mine plants don't bloom, which is okay with me because the reason I'm growing them is for the leaves, not for the flowers. But do you do anything special to them to get them to bloom? Just curious. Okay. Take a look. I can tell. I want it a little bit smaller. There we go. That's the consistency I'm looking for. Roasted potatoes, really good. Like I said, veggies. Yeah. So I look forward to having this rosemary to use in the future. I'm going to put that here for now. Show you guys how much I ended up with. And I can continue to harvest it. Not that I need a huge jar full, but I want to continue to harvest it because I do plan on gifting some of it for the holidays. So I'd like to fill the jar up, at least one jar. And then you could either give it as a gift by itself as just plain dried rosemary for your friends and family, or you could mix it with other dried herbs that you grow and make an herb blend. Alright, so here we have the rosemary that I grew in my garden. I harvested, I dried it, and then I removed it from the stems and put it through my hand chopper to chop it up. And it's in a jar where it'll stay good for a really long time. Once I get the jar filled up, I will use my vacuum sealer to vacuum seal it just for added freshness. But thank you for joining me here today at Becky's Garden Paradise. If you have any questions about rosemary, please leave them down in the comments. And then also don't forget to let me know if you get your rosemary to bloom, do you do anything special to it? And what is your favorite way to use rosemary? Hopefully this video encourages you to grow rosemary in your garden, along with other herbs to make your own seasonings for your food. That way you know how they're grown and it'll help you make yummy dishes for your family. If you like this video, please give me a thumbs up. If you know anyone who would like to see how I processed my rosemary, please share this video with them. And if you haven't subscribed to my channel yet, please go ahead and subscribe. I look forward to seeing you here at Becky's Garden Paradise in my next video. So thank you for watching and have a great day.